Morning, it's Amanda. How you doing? I'm going to talk about my makeup collection because I moved recently and I realized that I have so much makeup. I'm sure that there's people who have a lot more, but for me there was quite a lot. So I filled up this entire bag with makeup plus like a normal size shoebox. So part of me was like, there's no way that I need this much makeup. In my defense, some of it was like special effects makeup, like, you know, a huge thing of liquid latex and fake blood and all of that. So it wasn't just like, oh, I have 5 million highlighters and they're all the same shade. So anyway, I obviously am a bit of a hoarder, as you can tell. And I'm not opposed to that in principle. Like, I do love having a lot of makeup. But one thing that I was thinking was that I'm probably not using everything that I own. Because if I have that much and like there was so many things that I didn't even know that I had anymore, it just kind of collects dust in a drawer, right? And that's something that I am really opposed to. I would love to have heaps of makeup as long as I'm using all of it. I've been on a bit of a mission this year to use up things that I have had for a long time, but I've not been using for quite a while. So I'm calling it like 18 in 2018. And I think I've either used up or thrown away about 15 products now, so I think I'm doing quite well. But then I remember this thing that I did a couple of years ago where I would write all my products down, which at the time was a lot less than what I have now, but like I made a list of all the things that I have, and then as I would use them I would cross them off, and that led to me, you know, even if I at the time thought that I had so much makeup, it still led to me using all of that makeup at least once during that time. So I've actually done it twice, I think. I thought it was a great way to make sure that I'm being a bit more creative, and it also helped me rediscover some products that I really used to love, but for some reason they kind of fell out of favor because I found something that was more exciting or whatever. So I wrote down this list here. It's quite a long list. There's like 15 pages in total, I think, and part of that is because when I've got a palette, I've written down every single shade rather than just saying, okay, well, if I use the palette once, even if that's just one shade, that still counts. It doesn't. I need to use every single shade in those palettes as well. And then once I've used something, I'm gonna cross it off like so. This one is crossed off not because I've used it, but because when I tried it out earlier, I realized that it was expired and was burning my lips. So that's exactly the kind of thing that I'm trying to avoid by doing this. So yeah, let's see how we go. But I was going through my collection and I was kind of having a look at what I want to use. And I came across this palette, the Too Faced Insurance Policy palette, which I've had for a couple of years now. I've probably had it for a bit too long. But I feel like eyeshadows just don't really go off. This one has a shelf life of 12 months. It's definitely been more than 12 months since I bought this. So when you open it up, it's these 6 shades. As you can see, it's 3 neutrals and 3 brighter colors, and they are all shimmers. So I think the issue with a palette like this is when it's only shimmers, you really have to use it with something else because you can't really create a look with just shimmer shades. I'm sure it can be done, but it's just not the one for the most part. So I will be using this one, but I will also be using this classic, the Modern Renaissance palette, which I'm sure everyone has by now. But I love it. I think it's very versatile, and I think that hopefully with the old and the new together, we can create something really nice. So I'm thinking that I want to start with Buon Fresco. I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's this one. Sorry about all the pan, by the way. As you can see, it's been a very well-loved palette. I've used it quite a lot. So I'm going to put that as like a base / transition color all over the lid. I'm thinking we're going to have like some kind of smoky, reddish, pink moment going on. I don't really want to go for too much pink, so I'm gonna, this sounds stupid, but I'm gonna go for Venetian red, which I realized is also pink, but it's not quite as pink as Love Letter. As you can see, I just fucking hate that shade. Excuse my language. But yeah, it's just not, like, I'm not a fan of that super hot pink kind of shade. So I'm gonna go in with the Venetian Red. Okay, that's a lot of pink. I know that I said we're not gonna do a pink look, but apparently that's just where I'm going today. But to kind of bring that down a bit, I want to add some antique bronze and kind of make it more of a brown toned raspberry smoky eye. So it's still pink, but it's a lot more subtle, which is exactly what I wanted. I just don't like the whole like hot pink moment. I like a raspberry, I like, you know, a more subtle pink. But that really like Barbie pink is really not my style. I want to add Boy Toy in the inner corner and kind of give it a bit of a pop. I think this is a great way to add just a tiny pop of color without really making your look too much. So if you want to be a bit subtle but still have like some fun highlight color, I think putting it in the inner corner is a great way to do that. So because that's such a strong look, I think it's made the rest of the look a bit basic. So I'm going to add a bit of that in the center of the lid as well. Right, I'm happy with that. That pops a bit more. Because this is quite a strong look, I think it needs a bit of black eyeliner. So I'm going to be using this one, which is Charlotte Tilbury's Rock and Coal in Bedroom Black, which I think is a lot better than a lot of other eye pencils. It's a lot more creamy. It doesn't have like that dry pencil texture. It's more of like almost a gel liner in a pencil. I always start blending out with a brush, but then I always end up using my fingers anyway, so might as well go straight in with my fingers. I don't like using my fingers for a lot of things, but I think when it comes to blending out underneath your eye and applying liquid eyeshadows and that kind of thing, it's great. And obviously when you go into all that effort, a bit of mascara as well. This is the Full Fat Lashes from Charlotte Tilbury. I just got it in some kind of promo pack and it's okay. It's not necessarily my favorite mascara, but I definitely think it's good enough. And it's kind of easy to get those like really spidery lashes with this, which is not always a great thing, but I think for a more grungy look like this, it really works well. Because you can just kind of pack it on like this and not be too careful about where it goes. Especially on your lower lash line, just like, did I? Oh, okay, great. Maybe don't put it on your nose, but what do I know? So I've cleaned up my little mishap and I'm pretty happy with this. It's pretty grungy and there's a lot of eye, so I think with a look like this, it's not really, I wouldn't use a bright lipstick. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but I think it just looks better if you focus either on eyes or lips. So I would either leave my lips bare, or today I'll be using this, the Kim KW lipstick from Charlotte Tilbury, which is quite nude. It's a bit too orangey for me, but I think if you kind of blot it off a bit, it looks nice. I have used this with the Pillow Talk liner sometimes, and I think it looks really nice with that kind of pink. It's just a nice natural lip. And lastly, obviously, blusher and highlighter. I'll be using this blusher today, which is the First Love from Charlotte Tilbury. I know I use quite a lot of her stuff, but I think it's a good brand, so it's kind of expensive, but I think for what you're getting, it's really worth it. So this is kind of a soft coral. I think it suits me better, and I think it's like nicer than a bright pink blusher. I think it's a more natural look on a lot of people. And then my favorite highlighter of all time is, this is so used up, like it looks awful, but it's the Warm Glow Candlelit Glow from Too Faced. This is my favorite highlighter because it's very subtle. It's not like that super blinding highlighter that you get, so you can kind of go in and just put on as much as you want and you're just going to look like you are in amazing lighting basically. So yeah, I got quite a few things crossed off already, but obviously that's a lot of the base products that I use every single day, and they were always going to be crossed off anyway. So we'll see how long this takes me. If you found that helpful or inspiring or interesting, maybe it's inspired you to pick up a product that you don't use that often and maybe should, please feel free to like and subscribe and leave me a comment. I'm hoping to get through this list by the end of the year. But that's probably a bit optimistic, seeing as there's what, 15 pages like I said, so maybe it's more realistic to say that I'm hoping to have it done in a year. It's now the beginning of September, so by September next year I'm hoping to have used everything in my collection at least once. So bye.